Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm Wes Allen with DM Tales, and this is yet another issues for print. This is an episode of Skipping Lunch After Dark, because everybody can do things at night and it is lunchtime somewhere on Earth. That's the way the time zones work. And I am really happy tonight because I have a friend of the channel on, and who organizes one of the coolest local conventions here in Philadelphia, which is extending across the globe, across the country, and into other countries, I do believe. But I'm here with Ron from the Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo. Ron, how are you?
Oh, I'm a little busy with real life work and the convention at this point, Wes. I mean, we're firing on all cylinders. We've got events getting ready to open on July 1st for our gold badge holders.
Okay.
We're cruising towards 500 events submitted.
Wow.
Very rapidly, and it's just crazy the amount of the number of special guests we have this year, and the seminars and panels that have been coming in. It's a lot of good stuff going on.
And you have already tackled about 3 of my questions. That was good planning on your part. My mic is too hot, so I'm going to turn it down a little bit. All right. So last year when you were on, we did a couple of, get to know you questions, and I thought we would do a little bit different ones this time since people have heard the last one.
Sure.
And so one of the coolest things that happened in our chat last year when we were talking about stuff, and King Eric the Greatest of All is in chat. Hey Eric, how are you? Come to page, figure out how to get there. But one of the cool things that happened in chat last year when you were chatting is that this surprise guest showed up in the middle of our chat conversation, who turned out to be your very first DM.
Yeah, that was great. Lee Stanford, what a good guy. And he set me on a road that has been a driving force in my life since I was 10 years old.
So yeah, how did you? I heard this on your the page show on Friday night, but yeah. I really, for folks who aren't watching that channel, which you should be joining the page YouTube channel, how did he become your first GM?
Well, I lived in a very rural part of South Jersey. We had moved there from the town of Mays Landing. We moved to a very wooded area, and there were really only five kids within like a 3 mile radius.
Okay.
And he was the older brother of a kid that I had gotten friendly with. He lived a couple of doors down, and when we say a couple of doors down in that neighborhood, you're talking, quarter of a mile.
Uh-huh.
And he said, "Hey, you guys want to play Dungeons and Dragons?" And you know, myself, his brother Greg, and two brothers from about a half a mile down the road, we uh, we formed a little adventuring party, and off we went. We didn't know what we were doing, but we loved every minute of it, and we're really enjoying it. And I just decided I'm going to start reading more about this, and I was instantly hooked. I've got a vivid imagination, so role playing games are right up my alley.
That it's for folks who want a little bit of context. What decade are you running around the woods in
This
South
is
Jersey?
19. This is 1980.
So for folks, this is something that I try to convince people of who are my daughter's age and younger. The TV show Stranger Things is our childhood. Like we were just running off into the unknown and nobody knew where we were. So it's, with the exception of the monsters, that's what we were doing.
Yeah, that's actually right in the wheelhouse of when I was running games, and I was kind of the go-to person in my high school if you wanted to play D&D or learn how to play D&D. Stranger Things is right in that 1986, 1987
Mm-hmm.
wheelhouse. And so, yeah, I can relate to that, with the exception of L being able to blow up people's heads. I didn't know anybody like that. So,
No, we wanted to know people like that, but we didn't.
mm.
What? So here's a question from King Eric in chat. Did you see any real ents in the woods? He always has to get one in every chat.
Did I see any real ants?
Yes.
No, no real ants. We did see a lot of skunks, a lot of raccoon, wild dogs. Uh,
No Jersey
you know,
Devil.
no Jersey Devil, no Jersey Devil, not where we were at.
We tried. What can we say?
Yeah.
And Blind Bart is in the chat, so hello. Uh,
Oh, Jennifer, my you know broadcast partner on Friday Night Live,
mm-hmm.
on the Page YouTube channel, and what a great person she is. I mean, she was so enthusiastic at Page last year, and there's a lot of talk about faith when we were talking about religion, but
Uh-huh.
the faith that she had and her husband had, who said, "You know what? We're going to come down from Massachusetts, or I think New Hampshire, from up in New England. We're going to drive down to New Jersey and go to this convention where we don't really know anybody,
Uh-huh.
but it looks pretty cool." I mean, that personally means a lot to me.
Mm-hmm.
That somebody has that kind of faith, and whether they're an attendee or a vendor, or like Pacesetter Games, who came out the first year,
Uh-huh.
and a Page. I mean, that it's a big risk that people take. They don't know what they're going to see at a first year con or a second
Mm-hmm.
year convention.
Yeah.
But met Jen and her husband, and I liked everything she had to say. I liked her outlook, and she's a what I like to describe as why we run Page. Meeting people like Jen would be a perfect example of one reason
Mm-hmm.
to continue running the convention.
She's awesome. She's such a just a very calming, very insightful presence in just about any conversation that she's in. Everybody go check out her YouTube channel. She's the Blind Bard. And Jen, I do want to have you on DM Tales at some point too, because I think you're fantastic.
Yeah. Now I do have to warn you.
Uh huh.
Jen does pregame before Friday Night Live. She's hitting the bottle pretty hard before the camera starts to roll live.
I don't
So
know if we need
if
to be airing dirty laundry out front.
it's not dirty laundry. It's we have screenshots of it. It's true. It's almost as scandalous as stealing eggs from your own charity.
Okay, I was framed. I do have receipts. I was framed on that one. We'll talk about that. I have people who can testify under oath. It's good. But I love that is now a running gag. But if Jen is going to pregame before the show, I'll just have one of my local beers on hand, and we can drink together while we're doing the conversation.
No, she's hitting the hard stuff.
Okay,
She's hitting clear liquor.
interesting. So here we go. It was one shot. Jen, it's just we're being scandalized by Ron. It's just one of those things. So that's now immortalized. All right, let's get back to talking about Lee for a second, because one of the cool things that's happening is he's actually coming to page 3 this year, right?
Yes, he is.
When was the
Yep.
last time you saw him?
35 years ago.
That's wild. And so he's
Yeah.
coming to play or to run games, right?
He's going to run a game, but he's also coming to play. He's coming to play games.
That's awesome.
And you know what? I'm really glad he's coming. I mean, his brother and I still talk occasionally. His brother's still in the area,
Okay.
but Lee went away to university or up in the New England area, and he just never came back really.
That
So
almost
it was-
happened to me. So I escaped. So, but I'm glad he's coming. I look forward to meeting, because he's been on the he'll comment on channel
Yeah, he's
stuff every
one-
now and again. It's really nice
He's
to have
one
him.
of your He's definitely one of your fans. Yep,
Yeah.
he follows the channel.
He's a really really nice guy. So I'm looking forward to meeting him too. But I'm really cool that you get that reunion. So this is just one of the things that role playing games can do for you folks. Here's a good question for you, because you GM a lot, right?
Yeah.
Okay. When you are not GMing, what types of games do you gravitate towards?
Well, I'd love to gravitate towards some post-apocalyptic Earth stuff. Hint to anybody out there who's watching, and I'd love to get involved in a Gamma World or Twilight 2000 or anything like that. Even a Fallout RPG. One of the newer rule sets. I'd be happy to jump in as a player there. But right now I'm playing a few different things. One, I'm looking forward to starting to play Justin Sorois's Sickest Witch.
Okay.
Which he's got a unique take on an RPG system, which I like. Not to take shots at any. This shouldn't be interpreted as pointing at any one system or all systems, but there comes a time when, how many more fantasy RPG systems do we need? I want something different, and Sickest Witch is filling that role.
Gotcha.
I do play in a Shadow Dark campaign that Anthony Simeone runs.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a good time with that. I play Otto the Foolhardy. He's got a 5 wisdom, and I play him like he has a 5 wisdom. And,
low wisdom characters are so much fun.
His theory is a lot of this stuff we're facing as a party, they're strictly human problems, and he's just there. And his quote is, "I am a dwarf, and dwarves don't negotiate." So you're a bad guy, and you want us to agree to do something for you. Oh, okay. While the humans are talking to you, my sword's coming out of its sheath and charging. Um, you know,
Dwarves don't
we
negotiate.
yeah. Well, I mean, things like that, and I play in a I play a character in a every other week a D&D second edition campaign. I play a dwarven priest that I'm having fun with, and that game's run by Johnson Tillis, and it's got some great players in it. It's got Rich Geislinger's in that game, who's a really good player.
Hmm.
Kate Seguros, if you don't know the name, you definitely saw her at Page. She's the young lady with the chartreuse hair who was bringing around Phil E. Cheesesteak to take pictures with everybody.
Yep.
Um, we have a ton of fun in that game, and of course, I run some games.
Yeah.
So yeah, having a good time. I know Elise Paxson's going to be running Pirate Borg at the at our game room here
She didn't tell me she
on
was running Pirate Borg.
Saturday the 14th, and she's got a spot open in the game, I believe,
I can't.
because
Oh man, I
yeah,
would love to do that.
I can't be there either. I thought I was going to be there. I was excited about it, but I checked my calendar, and I'm going to be at Central New York RPG Con helping that convention
Yeah.
in its first year.
Yeah.
So
My June is just swamped. But we encouraged Elise to GM for the better part of a year because we knew she would be good.
mhm.
And then she just ran Badge Quest for you guys, right? Down in your game room?
She did. She ran Badge Quest. I mean, she played in a Badge Quest game at EcclesiaCon that I
Mm-hmm.
ran, and she liked it, and she ran a good game, and she had it was me, it was who was it? It was me, Ed Stark,
Yeah, I was
Phil,
about to say Phil
and
was there.
yeah, there was one other person. I'm trying to remember who it was, but yeah, no, it was a good time, and Lisa's great. She plays in a couple of the D&D games that we have going on here at the game room as well. So
She's fantastic. And I think it's like, here's your first time GMing. It's like a couple of convention organizers and an industry luminary. Have
yeah,
fun.
exactly.
So, and she did
Yeah,
great. Also, I was an NPC,
yep.
which made me happy. She asked me if she could make me one, so I thought that was cool. Ed Lopez is in the chat, so hi, Ed. And he wants to know if you've ever tried Free League's Walking Dead game, because he's run a few
Uh,
sessions.
I would not be opposed to playing Free League's Walking Dead game. That fits right into the sort of thing I'm looking to play. And since you live in Cherry Hill, you could come down and run it at the game room, and I've got a whole passel of players that would be willing to jump in that game.
I would probably jump into that. That would be a blast.
Yeah.
So I'm just about to review Rust and Redemption, which is the post-apocalyptic book for Cipher System, and that
Mm.
looks like fun. And then the other one that's like Apocalypse in Progress is the Electric State, which is wild. So
I have the I have the core book for that I picked up last, I think, October, and I haven't cracked it open yet, but it's sitting there like calling to me
it's
to
so
crack it
good.
open. Uh,
It is a psychological mind trip. It is so good. And
I
if you can
I
get the art book, read that first. I read it after, and you
mhm,
realize that the RPG isn't quite bleak enough.
right. Um, yeah, I don't want to do anything to take away from my experience, Wes. I appreciate that suggestion, but I'm willing to look at the RPG with virgin eyes, and not say, oh, this isn't this or that, which is I think that's part of the thing that's going to keep the Fallout RPG from really succeeding. So many people know the canon from the video games and everything
Yeah, they don't
else,
want to deviate from it. And
and my thought is just run it as a game, and stay away from the canon, just run it as a post-apocalyptic game and go from there.
Yeah.
Now, I am eyeing up, and you may or may not be interested in this. Um, I did pick up a copy of The Price of Freedom, which is a West End Games role-playing game
Okay.
that is based around, the Russians have occupied America.
Oh, like
It's
a
like a
Red
it's
Dawn
like
type game.
it's like a Red Dawn sort of thing. I
Gotcha.
did pick up a copy, and I'm thinking about running a. I don't know how sustainable of a campaign game it is. I'll have to take a closer look. It's been a long time since I read those rules, but I would imagine it could sustain a story arc game for a few sessions,
That would be
and
interesting.
I'm looking forward to putting that together and trying to run that, or similar from Fantasy Games Unlimited,
Mm-hmm.
is Freedom Fighters,
Okay.
which I've started to read that as well, and it's a very similar basis. It's like you're in occupied America.
That sounds
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah,
I just as
yes,
long as we get to scream Wolverines at one point, everything is fine.
yeah.
And we've really just dated ourselves. All right, so people now know you, so that's a good thing. So, and I actually would be interested in playing a West End Games. I've never played anything from West End Games. Don't tell Ed. So, but
Listen,
we're
Ed knows a lot of those games went unplayed. Uh, you know, Star Wars didn't go unplayed, but things like Torg, uh, uh,
people have a fond memories of Torg, though.
mm,
No.
yeah. And it hurts Ed's feelings when I say this, but I remember saying to myself, because I'm such a huge fan of second edition D&D, right?
Right. Okay.
And first edition,
Mm-hmm.
cut my teeth on first edition. In 1989, I was happy to change over to second edition and still play second edition to this day.
Mm-hmm.
And I was mad when I found out a bunch of guys who were involved with the Torg RPG were going to be
You
penning the
just muted.
next
I can't
edition.
hear you. Hold on. I don't know
What did
what's
you
going
do?
on. I think everybody else can hear you. Oh, I lost you. Are you back? Hold
I'm
on.
still here.
You're still. I couldn't hear. You were getting signal, but you disappeared on my thing. All right. So you were mad when a bunch
Yeah,
of
I don't know.
the tour
When
guys did
I
what?
when I read that a lot of the designers were West End Games people who had worked on Torg, I'm like, wait a minute, let me get this straight. We're taking the greatest role playing game of all time, and we're putting it into the hands of a system that forget the validity of the Torg system in the rule set. It just didn't sell.
Right. Okay.
It used to be piled up in every hobby store, and it didn't move. And they were giving away the box sets for a while. People were buying the box sets just because they liked the 20-sided die, the die style that was in there.
Uh huh.
So it actually caused me not to consider playing third edition.
Oh, really?
And not only did it not to consider it, I didn't do it. I was just like, nope, the second edition D&D is not broken. It's got plenty of options. And you know what? We're just going to stick with it because A, I'm comfortable with it.
Well,
And
it's the
then
game you
B, I've
played,
got
right?
everything ever produced for it. So,
Yeah.
it's that but that was part of it. But
Okay.
I like to poke fun at Ed about his time at West End Games. Um, I once went to West End Games. It was in Honesdale, Pennsylvania.
Oh, was it really? I didn't know it was that close. Okay.
Yeah, and in Honesdale, as you're coming in, it's like a mountainous area,
Sure.
and there's just literally a castle on
Really?
like the side of a mountain as you drive up there. And I remember driving in, and I said, "Oh, that's got to be West End Games. I mean, what else could it be?" Now, West End Games was like in a pre-engineered metal building somewhere. So Yeah, disappointment number one right there.
And if you watch this later, I'm sorry. Although we're still going to make fun of you for it. Um, that's I don't know what to do with that. Okay, let's talk. So Page is coming up and it's entering in its third year, which has been it's been a cool journey. So going back to when
Hmm.
Page got started, what
Yeah.
personal itch did you feel that kind of pointed you to running not just a convention but this type, because it's a very distinct feel to it.
Well, as you know, I'm the one of the two founders
Mm-hmm.
and administrators of the RPG Collectors Barter Group,
Mm-hmm.
and when that started up, it was right in the throes of COVID, and there was it was a bad time for
I
the role
keep
playing
losing
game
you.
community.
Okay, keep
Yeah.
going. You were broadcasting.
Um,
I couldn't hear you. So
yeah. Okay. So it was a bad time for the RPG community because there was a lot of infighting going on.
okay.
Whether guys like you or I were being called gatekeepers,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the new people were being called woke
Right. Right.
and this and that. And fifth edition sucks, first edition rules. Just the fighting that was going on some of the RPG pages was just too much. It was too much to bear. It's like, man, you guys need something better to do.
Okay.
And in talking with some of our admins and key community members in our RPG, the RPG collectors barter group,
Uh huh.
they said, Ron, didn't you used to run conventions? And I'm like, yeah, like in the 90s. That's a long time ago. World's a different place.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking a quarter century or more ago. And so, it kept like bringing it up to me. And so finally I kind of gave in.
Okay.
Um, and I had a little extra time that I didn't have previously.
Okay.
And I said, well, maybe I can do this, but I let the folks know who were going to get involved. I said, there needs to be a few parameters here. One, I need help. Like, I'm not going to run this thing if, you guys think it's a good idea and then you show up and be America's guest at the convention,
Gotcha.
but not actually help put the thing together. And
Mm-hmm.
a core group of people said, hey, we got your back. If you do it, we'll be there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
People like Daniel Lawrence and Ryan Morgan, in year one, it was vital, right?
Yeah.
Um, Two, said if I'm going to do it, I want it to reflect what I'm interested in the gaming industry.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like I don't want to compete with the local game shop that is running Pokemon tournaments every weekend or
Okay.
Warhammer 40K, every day. It's like you can go to your game store for that. But,
Mm-hmm.
I want it to be first and foremost focused on role playing games. And I don't care if it's new role playing games or old role playing games. It can be a nice fusion and mix.
Okay.
Um, the third, there was a third element to it that we were taking the stance that um, there was a lot of talk about tolerance at that time and lack
Mm-hmm.
of tolerance and acceptance and in the game industry and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
is it welcoming enough and all these things. And I was tired of the factioning,
Okay.
and my theory is that tolerance is a two-way street,
Okay.
meaning everybody has to be tolerant of one another. We can't just say that person voted for Bernie Sanders and that makes him a communist and shun them,
Okay.
or that person has a MAGA hat on and attack them. What difference does that make when you're at the gaming table?
Mm-hmm.
Where all gamers are aligned is when you sit down at the table and you're enjoying the hobby we love. Put all that other crap aside because it doesn't impact your ability to have fun at the table. Like who one of your co-players at a convention table voted for or sleeps with or whatever it is, whatever the differences are, it doesn't impact you in any way, shape, or form. Live in that moment at the table and have fun at the RPG table.
Mm-hmm.
And I really wanted to make sure we the convention was running on that premise.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say, I believe that we've installed some programs at Page that I think are very very progressive
Mm-hmm.
and open, welcoming to everybody. But I also don't want to exclude anybody or any uh, you know old school gamer or new gamer or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody should feel excluded when they come to this convention. And the the final thing is two-part. I needed to have fun doing it,
Okay.
or I wasn't going to do it again. And two, there needed to be an element of a good cause involved in it. Like it couldn't just be to make money
Okay.
or not make money. There needed to be a charitable element to it that actually helped people.
Mm-hmm.
That uh, and I made the determination it was going to be to help people within the gaming community.
Okay.
And got tired of seeing some of the originators of the game, some of the early artists, some of the early designers having to go to GoFundMe to pay for car repairs because they
Yeah.
don't have a pension. They got involved in the hobby when it was fledgling. There weren't pension plans. There
Yeah.
weren't,
They didn't have
you know,
stock options. Yeah, they were. Yeah.
no, no. So we've been able to do some great things with the money we raise through our charity auction and other donations, and help a lot of people
Cool.
who need the help.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the unfortunate side is, I'd love to say, hey, look, here's a list, here's all the people we helped,
Uh-huh.
but it's kind of hard to bring somebody up on stage at a convention
Yeah.
and say, here you go, here's a check for $1,000 because you can't pay your rent,
Yeah, that's not kindness.
or hey, here's a check because your spouse passed away.
Right.
Like you don't want to. I don't want to bring people's hard times
Mm-hmm.
to the forefront. So we quietly go ahead and we give out money. I was
Mm-hmm.
handing out
Mm-hmm.
all kinds of checks a page this year. We've given out a bunch of checks during this cycle,
Mm-hmm.
and we're doing the right thing and helping out people, with medical costs and
Yeah.
just general issues that they have. We've been able to, uh, you know, GAP is Gamer Assistance Program,
Mm-hmm.
but I like to say we've been able to float some money out there that's been helped people bridge some financial gaps that they've had.
Which is good. And you bring people up on stage and give them a check. You've turned them into a prop, and that's not a good
No,
thing to
no,
do.
that's not the yeah that's not what I'm about. For several years, I was an elected official
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in my hometown of Summers Point, and I was not the councilman that was accepting the invites to come cut the ribbon at the local flower store when it opened.
Yeah.
But I was the guy that if you had a problem at your flower store and it wasn't getting solved, if you called me, I'd go fix it.
Right.
And so it can't be about the saying, "Hey, look at the good things we did." That's not what leaders do. That's not what people who do things for a good reason do. They don't do it to say, "Hey, look at me."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They do it to do the good thing and help people.
That's awesome. Now you talked about a team, and that's been really a big part of it. It's been fun to watch it,
Mhm.
just from my vantage point, because I'm a little
Yeah.
bit connected to it. And you shouted out a couple of folks already, but who were some of the key players that helped bring Page into existence?
Mike DiBenedetto is a local person to me. He's a gamer, and he really helped out with a lot of the technical aspects the first year.
Hmm.
He got our Wi-Fi system up and running. He
Okay.
ran a ton of games. Daniel Lawrence, the dice collector, he helped put a lot of things together. He's worked very hard on the auction.
Hmm.
Amanda Brasovsky, another dice collector, has come and worked hard. Ryan Morgan, who's an attorney from, splits time between West Virginia and Arizona.
Uh-huh.
He lent a lot of technical expertise. He helps with the auction quite a bit. Um, Patrick Dillon, who will be coming to Page for the first time this year. He's a
Oh,
gamer from Iowa who's an
okay.
attorney. And when I first said, "Hey, we're going to go for our 501c3 status,"
Okay.
um, he was the first person to reach out to me and said, "I'm going to do that for you for free. I'm going to do the application."
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so he leveraged the power of his law firm to get that application in and get that rolling for us. And you know, so I mean, so many people stepped up. I mean, Chet Minton, I can't say enough about. If we need artwork, I'll say, hey, Chet, how much will you charge me? I need this poster
Uh-huh.
like done. He just is like, hey brother,
Here
I
you go.
love what you're doing. And next thing you know, artwork in there's artwork there. Phil Work came on board. Uh, at the end of page one, he
Hmm.
was an attendee there, and he came forward with a lot of great ideas for page two and expressed a real interest in getting involved
Cool.
at page two. Phil is indispensable. He's one of the people that makes the thing run. We added Ed Stark in the fall of last year,
Hmm.
and Ed is doing a great job. And listen, Ed, I like to say Ed's a warrior, but he's a warrior in a good way because he's constantly bringing things to my attention.
Gotcha.
Like, hey, Ron, hey, have you thought about this? Hey, Ron, we should probably do this. And you know what? 75% of the time, what he has to say, I'm like, yeah, we're on top of it. We got it. But there's 25% of the time that Ed's pointing out things that do need attention. And you need that sort of person
Hmm.
on your team to help get you over the top.
Yeah.
When we talk about like our security people, like Zane McGowan, he's been a key element to what we've been able to do the first couple of years.
Uh-huh.
Uh, uh, my wife Jennifer, I mean, she just gets in there and rolls her sleeves up, and nothing's too tough.
Yeah.
My quote unquote work wife, Amber Norwich,
Uh-huh.
who is a dear friend of mine as well. She comes out every year, and she doesn't even game, but she comes out because she likes talking to the people and
Hmm.
getting there. Chris Germanio from my gaming group, I don't know how many people he picked up and dropped off at the airport year one, and nothing was too much trouble, and he always comes through no matter what's needed.
Hmm.
There's so many other people that contribute to what we do. The kids from Stockton, or the kids from Rowan University.
Oh, yeah, the
Uh, you know,
volunteers. Yeah.
yeah, the things that club has been able to do for us. Um, and I'm going to go back to faith. The faith that somebody like Jeff D has to come to a first year convention because he's got inkling of a recollection from when we met in the late '80s or early '90s.
Gotcha.
A guy like that comes out. Frank Menser.
Yeah.
What can you say? I mean, he was in a bad spot in the hobby for a couple of years there,
Yeah.
and we just looked at it and said, you know what? He's from Philadelphia. He is, an originator of the game. I'm going to put aside this noise,
Okay.
and make a decision if what was being said about him. Was it a cancelable offense? Was it a lifelong offense? We talk about, you
Hmm.
think about Pete Rose and
Yeah.
Shula Joe Jackson, you know, and the answer was no. And we went ahead and we moved forward.
Okay.
I could go on and on. Matt Shoemaker has really been a great help.
Uh huh.
Uh, you know, uh, Chris O'Neill from uh, uh, ninth level
Uh huh.
games. He's been doing a lot this year with our diversity initiative, and he's been a great help. I mean, I could just go on and on and on. I mean, there's been so many people. Elise
Hmm.
does a lot of work for the convention. She runs the Discord channel.
Hmm.
Um, I'm very grateful for what the community has pulled together. And one of the things I said about Paige from day one, when we started organizing in the fall of 2022 for a January of 24 convention,
Yeah.
um, I wanted Paige to be a convention where everybody could kind of put their fingerprint on it if they were interested in that,
Hmm.
like joining the staff, volunteering, um, and we've gotten that. Like, people have come forward and
Yeah.
they jump in and they fill roles, and it's been it's been a real blessing. I mean,
Yeah.
so
It's a fantastic event, and I mean,
yeah.
from year one to year two, about how much did it grow?
Well, I was hoping we'd get 500 people year one, and
Hmm.
we ended up getting 1,140.
That was wild.
And then year two, I thought, well, let's shoot for 1,500, and we ended up with 1,831, I think.
Okay.
So, and I I believe if I believed we would have hit 2,000 if it wasn't for we had Snow Friday, Snow Sunday, which is so rare in this area anymore to get that much snow. But
But the first 2 years of Page, it snowed. That's
it
just
did
now
snow.
an annual
It
tradition.
Yeah,
So,
and people said, "What's the plan if it snows?" I'm like, "We're going to play through it." No, that's what we do. But when I compared our Sunday daily numbers for page two to page one, um, the Sunday daily numbers were off at page two, and it had everything to do with the snow.
oh yeah,
It
people.
had everything to do, yeah.
Yeah, and it was. You don't want to be driving on the Shore-Kill Distressway in a snowstorm. That's just not
Yeah.
a good thing to do. So,
But we're not gonna have, hold on. We're not gonna have any snow this year, so
what
I
did you
feel
just hit?
pretty I just knocked on wood. I just
Okay.
knocked on wood.
I thought you were killing a bug or something. Okay, we knocked on wood. That's
No,
good.
I knocked on wood. So yeah, I mean, but I think the convention, really belongs to the gamers and the game masters
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that submit events. That's what drives the event,
Yeah.
and the folks who put in for seminars and things like that. And I do want to mention one more person. There's so many people, and I'm
Uh-huh.
sure I'm missing somebody,
Sure.
but a person who has another person who hasn't been to Page, who was vital the first year in
Mm-hmm.
getting Page off the ground, was former TSR uh, game designer Dale Donovan.
Okay.
Um, Dale doesn't like to travel,
Mm-hmm.
is what it comes down to. But he wanted to help with Paige because he liked everything we were doing. So he was reaching out to all his TSR uh, coworkers, former TSR coworkers,
Okay.
and helping to bring them in as special guests. And you know, I know Dale knows this because I've told him, but very appreciated that effort. He really helped us get off the ground.
Gotcha. That actually answers one of the questions, but we'll explore that a little bit more. Page 3 is coming up in 2026. What are the dates for Page 3?
It's starts Thursday, the 15th this year
Mm-hmm.
for
Mm-hmm.
everybody. After seeing like all the people hanging out for the gold badge events on Thursday night and looking at 300 people looking at me with puppy dog eyes because there were no events for them, we changed that. There will still be exclusive gold badge holder events,
Gotcha.
uh, but it starts on Thursday the 15th at 10 a.m. and it goes through to 6 p.m. on Sunday the 18th.
Okay.
And what's great for everybody is that it's Martin Luther King Jr. weekend.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So no work on Monday. So you don't have to run out and try to get home or, worry about missing a day of work. You can use Monday as a travel day.
Unless you're a poor slob like me, in which case I have to leave Saturday.
Mm.
The I this year I got to figure out a way to get there 3 days this year. That's one of my goals. I have to navigate
Well,
to do that.
listen, you're doing God's work on Sunday, so you get a pass for not being there on
They
Sunday.
do tend to miss me when I don't show up. It's one of those
Now,
things.
I grew up Catholic,
Right. Yeah.
and when you steal something, you used to have to go to confession, and you used to have to spill it over to the priest who told you had to go do 40 Hail Marys and 25 Our Fathers
Uh-huh.
and six acts of contrition to absolve you of the sin.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
What
yeah.
exactly have you done
Well, I
regarding the mishandling of huevos at EcclesiaCon?
for folks who do not know, there were some eggs that were brought for our auction on EcclesiaCon that vanished at some point between where they were presented to me and when we did the auction, and they could not be located. They were located after the auction was actually after the evening games were over, and the location of where they were located is somewhat in doubt. Although Ron claims he has a picture, and I'm saying I was framed.
They were in Wes's office on a different floor of the building. Wes
So
accepted the eggs, and then somehow they ended up in his office and not on the auction block because that was the height of the great egg disappearance. And
it was.
I've got chickens and a lot of eggs, and they were very valuable. So I brought
They were gold. I did not take the eggs. I would say that Baptists do not have the typical confession thing that a lot of the higher church structures do. I would say that the person who framed me should probably go talk to a priest. That would be fine.
I think what we're going to do is we do have a Catholic priest who attends Page.
Wait, who's the Catholic priest who attends Page?
I've promised this individual I would not say his name.
Okay.
He does not show up
In his collar
with his priestly but
gotcha.
He definitely is a Catholic priest from southern New Jersey.
Okay.
And I am going to arrange for him to put on the collar, and we're going to basically bring you up to the stage and have you confess.
You're going to have me do this on stage. I will tell the absolute truth that I did not steal the eggs. In front of the priest. I'll happily do that.
I think I think what you want to say is you did not knowingly steal the eggs.
No, no, I did not steal the eggs. I sent two people to my office to look for the eggs. They were not there until after the auction.
It's because you
So
had them well hidden. You had them well
you
hidden.
took a picture. They were on my desk. So
Yeah, they were on your
actually, it was
desk.
Anthony
Yes.
who took the picture. So we have to get Anthony. Where is he? Get him on chat. Where is he? So
Listen, Anthony plays in too many of my games. I I think I have his testimony well scripted.
all I remember is one line. Somebody look, an unnamed figure looking at Anthony. You had one job. That's all I remember from that entire night. So, that was
Well,
awesome.
I was sleeping underneath the
You
Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo table after being subjected to running Clayorama for a bunch of 7-year-olds or 8-year-olds, whatever they
seven and
were. Your
eight. They were
son was
7
one
and
of them,
8.
and the mother of one of the children was like, "Here you go," and like plopped the child down at the table. And I'm looking around the table, and I looked at her. I said, listen, I'm paraphrasing only slightly. I said, lady, I don't know who you are, but you are not leaving me here with all these children. Sit down and make a monster out of clay. That was pretty close to exactly what I said.
That is one of
Maybe I
my
didn't
best
call.
friends, by the way.
Yeah,
So,
listen, very nice lady, very
mhm.
nice lady, and she really enjoyed uh, striking the killing blow to. Was it her daughter
Yes, that
or
was her
son?
daughter. That was her daughter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she struck the killing blow on her daughter's monster, and by the pure, enjoyment I saw on her face, I'm like, all right, we converted somebody today.
At least for the moment. It was a life altering experience. I'm not sure it took. We'll have to try again.
It
It'll be
was a
fine.
life altering experience for me, for sure, because it aged me about 4 years in one sitting.
After flying from Hawaii to come down and sitting down at a table with a bunch of 8-year-olds to play Clay Rama, I did
Or
feel bad for you. So
the Nintendad's kid.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh
He won
boy,
too.
yeah, but every time something didn't go his way, he went complaining, looking for relief from somebody else in the convention because he didn't like the rule call. Uh,
Well, listen,
it was unbelievable.
you just have rules lawyers in the making. That's all. They have to start somewhere.
Listen,
It's
he campaigned harder for changes in the rule call than LeBron James flops on the basketball court
I
looking for fouls.
actually can't wait to run this with these guys. It's going to be so much fun. So, all right, let's talk. Let's get back to Paige after you've threatened
Yeah,
to expose me at Paige on stage in
yeah,
front of a Catholic priest. That's great.
yeah.
I'm putting Anthony under oath. All right. So, way to sidetrack me, Ron. So you talked about this a little bit, but this is one of the things that sets Paige apart from pretty much any convention out there. There
Mhm.
is this ratio of special guests to attendees,
Yeah.
which is near mind boggling. Because if you go to the special or the special guest page for Paige, and it's not even complete yet, you just keep scrolling and it just keeps going and
Yeah.
going and going. So my first question is, and you answered this a little bit, how do you know all these people?
Well, when you talk about numbers of guests, we're going to hit 100 special guests this year from the industry.
Okay.
Um, in fact, we added one today, and I'll tell the story real quick, and then I'll explain how I know all these people. So I get it. I get a text from somebody who's at North Texas RPG Con, which started today,
Okay, it's this weekend, right?
and the early gaming starts Wednesday there,
Okay.
and person messages me, and he's like, "Hey, brother, um, a bunch of us are here sitting around talking about Paige and how much we're looking forward to it. And so and so, I'm not going to mention the person's name
Yep.
because we haven't announced them yet, uh, looked really sad. And we asked him what was wrong. And he said, I've just been looking at that convention, looking at it. I see all my old friends are going, but I didn't get an invite.
Ouch. Okay.
And, and so the person reaches out to me and says, would you be interested in having, and it's a big name. It's a
Okay. Yeah.
big name.
Yeah. Okay.
And I said, well, yeah, I honestly didn't think, the person's got some health issues. I didn't think they were be willing
Did be
to make
traveling
the
around.
trip. It never really crossed my mind. But yeah, if they want to come, but I said, one, I don't want to make anybody feel like they've been excluded.
Yeah.
Uh, especially somebody who's been around the industry like 50 years.
Gotcha.
So we added another guest today as a result.
That's awesome.
We had a little Facebook conversation and way it went. And, this kind of happened last year a little bit too, where, Thanksgiving night, I get a call and it's Kelsey Dion.
Kelsey.
And she was not slated to come to Page. I was told by her staff she's cutting back on her conventions and all this stuff. And I said, okay, it is what it is. And I get a call from her and she says to me, hey, Ron, I really want to come to Page. I know my staff told you I couldn't come. I really want to come. Is there room for me? Is there room for me to come? And I was like, yeah, yeah. I didn't know she was going to come and get COVID on the plane or whatever happened to her.
I felt so bad for her.
But you know what? That makes me feel good. Not that, somebody wants to come to the convention, but, they want to come to the conventions for the right reasons. Like they hear great things about the convention.
Yeah.
Their friends are going to be there. Their contemporaries are going to be there. So when we go back to 100 guests, which is where we're going to be, but, we're very close to that now. I think we're at 96. We haven't announced them all, but they're there. It makes me feel good that the convention is something that people are looking forward to. They're seeing it in only its third year as an opportunity to reconnect with old friends and an annual event they want to be at.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what I wanted. When I put this thing together, I'm like, I want it to be fun. I want people to enjoy themselves. I want people to feel like it's their convention.
Okay.
So that special guest to attendee ratio is very important. No different than if you're a parent looking at schools, you're looking at teacher to student ratio. I not only want to have the guests there, but I want them to be accessible to their fans. We don't have a green room where people can go hide.
Right.
The guests are there amongst the fans, and the guests are great with the fans because you know what? They're gamers too. And we really haven't had an issue with any guests except for a couple who aren't coming back anymore. If you're not meeting that standard of openness and friendliness and understanding that people come to the convention to see you as a guest, if you're a special guest,
right,
then we don't need you there.
Yeah. And, no autographs, people. We need you to be hanging out with folks.
Yeah. Or if you don't run your game session and I end up running your game session for you, like what happened to Page One with a certain guest.
That would be a faux pas.
Yeah, but the great thing about it was I'm getting ready to run the game. Everything's going. Somebody plops down in a chair at the table and says, hey, can I play? And it was Jeff D.
Oh, hey, Jeff.
And yeah, it was a lot of fun. So, good. There's something good in
Hmm.
in every problem. You can find something good and focus on the positive.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
yeah, we have a lot of guests. We're always going to be like that. Um,
It's pretty
and
cool.
I like to celebrate people who are contributing to the industry. Like, okay, I mean, I'm going to use you as an example. If you asked 1,000 gamers if they know Frank Menser,
Hmm. Hmm.
a lot of them are going to say, "Yeah, I know the name," or "I
Hmm.
know who that is." And if you ask 1,000 gamers, "Do you know Wes Allen?" the number is going to be lower, right? But that
Yeah.
doesn't diminish what you're doing here with this program or any of the other things that you're doing with EcclesiaCon. And I think that matters.
Well,
And
thanks.
if you're an RPG, if you are an RPG publisher, even if you're a little guy and you've been producing things, yeah, we think that makes you a guest because you're
Hmm.
contributing to the RPG community, and we should celebrate that with you.
Well, thank you. Your support of CleeseCon's been incredible. Thank you for introducing me to Ed last year, because Ed Stark is I'm a forever fan. He was so much fun. But you really helped me out with getting folks to come in to vend, and the running the auction last year, even though you were exhausted, really helped
Listen,
out, and that
I
was really important to me.
I like to live my life, and I don't think I always lived my life this way. In fact, I know I didn't. But as I've gotten older, I've decided that I want to live my life to be for people, for things, and for efforts.
Okay.
It's too easy to be against things,
Yeah.
against people, and against efforts.
Hmm.
And it's you were doing things for the right reason, and you know it's easy to want to support you for that. And I don't like to you know it kind of embarrasses me a little bit to hear you say, oh, all these good things you do for EcclesiaCon, blah blah blah. I'm happy to do it, and I'm not looking for accolades. And
Oh, I
I
know.
appreciate you always mention it, and
Yeah.
when you mention it, I always look down. I'm
It's
100% sure I look down.
it's the exact same
So
thing that I do. I don't want.
yeah,
Please don't pay attention to me.
yeah,
I just run a website. Don't pay attention to me. It's a very strange personality quirk I have. But no, I totally understand. It's just gratitude. Absolutely, it's helped make EcclesiaCon important to me, and to a bunch of local folks, which is really kind of cool. And hopefully it'll, we'll always be a little boutique, but hopefully it can grow a little bit too. All right.
yeah.
So, and I am one of the special guests of a page this year, which boggles my mind, which is also kind of fun. But are there any, and we have the unannounced guests that we kind of alluded to, but are there any announced guests who are coming to page 3 who were not at page 1 or 2? So they're new this
Hmm.
year. I'm putting you on the
Yeah,
spot. Where's Phil when you need you?
yeah, there's a no, there's a lot. Let me just pull up the website here, but I'll throw a couple names out at you right now. Tony Winslow Brill is one.
Okay.
He's, um,
I did say Luke
let's see who
Stratton is
else we
coming this
have.
year.
We Luke Stratton, Luke Hart.
Okay.
Um, let me pull up the website because
Cool.
it's Friday and I'm tired.
It's Wednesday. That's how tired you are.
Is it Wednesday?
It's
Oh my
Wednesday.
god.
You're just used to streaming on Fridays. That's all.
I'm used to streaming on Friday. Yeah, All right, website is coming up. Obviously, the guest I was talking about today is new this year.
Uh huh.
Um, Elaine Cunningham.
Okay.
She was going to come to page 1 and fell ill,
All right.
but
Okay.
she's back in action, and
Mm-hmm.
very
Mm-hmm.
excited about Elaine Cunningham's going to be there,
Cool.
and their special guests. So let me go through Stefan Picorni from Dwarven Forge,
Cool.
Matt Forbeck. Matt Forbeck, that's
Okay.
a big name there. Stan, the cartoonist and author and game
Who
designer.
did my calendar, which I'm bringing to get signed, by the way.
Yeah, he's Jamie Chambers,
Okay.
uh, Ignatius Umlaut from the Fight On magazine,
Oh, cool.
uh, Christopher Clark from Inner City Game Designs. I mean,
Oh,
he did
neat.
a lot of work with Gygax late in his life.
Okay.
I mentioned Tony Winslow Brill,
Mm-hmm.
Eric. One of my favorite additions is Eric Boyd, who's a Forgotten Realms guy. He wrote several of the second edition Forgotten Realms supplements. He's still writing supplements today. They get produced on DM's Guild, which I pick up every one of them.
Oh, neat. Phineas
Alphidius
Goo.
Goo,
Yeah.
uh, Erica Lowe. She's a game designer, and she actually designed a pretty popular hack to Morkborg called Ragnaborg.
I haven't heard of
And
that one. Okay, cool.
yeah. Jeff Hall, who's a game designer and author, and he's the director of operations from the East Coast's largest gaming retailer, Games and Stuff.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Um, he's outstanding. We have Merle Rasmussen coming for
Mm-hmm.
the first time this year, of Top Secret
I'm looking
fame.
forward to meeting
Jeff,
him. I love Top Secret. So,
Jeff McAleer from the Gaming Gang. He's going to be there, and he's actually also one of the interviewers with you.
I'm looking forward to working with
Um,
him a little bit. Should be fun. So,
Carlos Lissing. Here's another one that I'm very fond of, Jim Louder,
mm-hmm.
a great TSR author and supplement designer. We've got Cassidy Norman, who is interesting person. She's got something called Incubus, where she takes like a traveling tattoo show to events. We will not be tattooing anybody at Page, but
You don't have the license for that.
She's quite the game runner
Oh, that's
in her
awesome.
own right. Elisa Teague
Oh,
will be there. Eric Mona from Paizo.
oh, someone from Pies is coming. Okay, cool.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Let's see who else we have here. Luke Hart, as I mentioned. Uh, can't forget this one. Kevin Ciambieta, the from Palladium Books,
Mm-hmm.
the president of Palladium Books.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you want to talk about one of the OGs of the
Of the
the role
industry.
playing game industry. I mean, he was with, did a ton of work for Judges Guild back
Mm-hmm.
in the day, and designed the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles
Yep.
role playing game and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Bunny Daniel, who's
She's a
who
Shadow
has the
Dark
dungeon,
Dev. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
the Dungeon Damsel
Mm-hmm.
thing. Not first time here, but he wasn't able to make it last year. Steve Marsh, who's
Oh,
another TSR
yeah.
OG.
Mm-hmm.
Jennifer Ellis,
Mm-hmm.
who is a board game designer and married to famed RPG designer Keith Baker, which
Yep.
may be an indication, though not announced yet, that Keith Baker will be there. Chris Arneson, the artist.
Yeah. So that just got announced like last week, didn't it? That Chris is going to be
Yeah,
there.
a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, and
And those are the
you know,
new guests.
those are those are the new guests,
Yeah.
and I want to. And there's others too that haven't been announced yet. Because we run a promotion in order to keep the community feel. I think it's important that we're constantly dispersing information.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Like some conventions, they kind of shut it down for 6 months and you don't hear from them,
Right.
right? And then no, with us, as soon as page 3's done, we'll go to page 4. So if we announce all the guests right away, then it's hard to,
Yeah,
you
we're
know,
we're we're
there's
doling it
only
out.
so much content. There's only so much content you can have. But um, would you like a scoop for the channel about
Sh-
something that's going to happen at Page that hasn't been announced yet?
give me a scoop. I would love a scoop.
One of our seminars this year is called The Rules Lawyers. And I'm going to be moderating a panel of gamer slash attorneys. And we're going to be throwing out hypothetical rules situations to them and have them litigate what the correct answer would be amongst each other as a panel. So we're going to have Alex Kammer, Ryan Morgan, Noam Weiner, Patrick Dillon, Steve Marsh, and a couple of others. And I spent a lot of time moderating panels
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and groups that involve attorneys, even
It's kind
state
of it's
attorneys
kind of your day
generals.
job in some respects,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I'm going to have a good time uh, kind of giving it to the attorneys when they're up there. And I think it'll be a good time for everybody in the audience because I will make it humorous. And maybe what we should do with this, maybe a byproduct of this is that we should be selecting one of these attorneys to be a prosecutor, another to be a judge, and one to be your the defense attorney for you. I'll make sure I pick the worst one, and we'll have a trial. We'll have a trial about the
Wait,
ethics.
you're bringing me up on stage. You're bringing me up on
Yeah,
stage to do confession publicly, which is not a Catholic thing, and
I'm going to
then
bring you. I'm going to bring you up on stage to do the confession, and then we're going to use the confession as part of the evidence in the trial.
wait a minute, you can't do that. The sanctity of the confession booth. You can't think you can't do that.
Listen, as a Catholic,
That's poison pill. You can't do that.
I don't know. I think we can. I think we can.
I'll be home that day. That'll be
Yeah.
good. You can try me not present. No habeas corpus now anyway. So who cares?
Yeah, but I'm very excited about that panel because I think it'll
gonna be
be a lot of
fun.
fun, and it may lend itself to its own YouTube channel someday. I would think because I think people would want to watch something like that.
That would be hysterical. Or even if you can like do it as like almost a traveling show to like some of the conventions and have people litigate different stuff. It just sounds hysterical.
I don't know how we'd finance that because
It's expensive.
lawyers are expensive.
I lost you a little bit.
All right, here we
you
go.
You're disappearing. You'll come back.
Yeah, so we're
Give me a second. Beep beep beep. Welcome to
I
technical
forgot
support
I had
issues.
options running. Yeah.
All right, you'll be back in 3, 2, 1. All right, you're back. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay.
I can hear you.
You are you drifting in and out of the stuff. All right, so lawyers are expensive.
Yeah, so lawyers are expensive. I don't know if we're going to be able to take that on the road or not, but we'll see.
It would be really fun. All right. Page, other than putting me on trial, there are other reasons to come to page 3. And page 3 badge sales are now open, right?
Correct. We've already brought in over 600 badges.
About this, it's how much more is that than about this time last year? Do you have a track on it?
Double.
That's awesome. And we said this at the beginning, but just to reiterate it, how many events have been submitted so far? Because they're still coming in.
It's closing in on 500 at this point.
And it's going to be a jam-packed event. And when do you anticipate? Because this is the question that people keep on asking right now: is when are ticket sales going to start?
Ticket sales for gold badge holders are July 1st. for 4-day badge holders and uh, staff, GMs, volunteers,
Hmm.
vendors on the 10th, and then I think for everybody else on the 18th. I think I'd have to go back and look at it, but the key is to go badge holders start on the on July 1st.
Okay. So that's starting for gold badge holders, and after that, can people still submit events if they want to submit something?
Yeah, absolutely. People can still submit events.
And there's
Yes, they can.
actually a QR code underneath your picture on the stream. So if people want to scan that, they can go right to the Philly Game Expo or Philly
That,
Area Gaming Expo's website and submit their events through there through tabletop events. It's awesome. All right, here's the cool thing because we talked a little bit about wanting to bring people together at the table and not excluding anybody. This year, Paige made it deliberate because sometimes I think when people hear that, they just assume, well, you don't really care about anything. Paige has made a deliberate initiative to do a diversity and inclusion initiative this year, which is a new
that's
thing.
correct.
What led to
Yeah.
starting this initiative?
We looked over our demographics like any company would,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we identified that, hey, our core customer, our average customer is a 55-year-old Caucasian man.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And, we and, the eye test tells you that that's what most of the customers were, but
Mm-hmm.
the numbers bore that out. So we felt it was important not only for the health of the convention moving forward, but you know how do we attract women in the hobby and minorities, if they don't feel welcomed, if it's like, well, I looked at all the pictures and it looked like a convention for old fat white guys.
Mm-hmm.
So so we made a decision like, hey, we need to do better. We need to conduct some outreach, and we're not doing it at the expense of anybody else.
Right.
We're doing it at but the goal is, diversity means a lot of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
It also means age, and
Mm-hmm.
we need to get younger. So what we sought to do is we actually reached out to every college and university game club within the tri-state area,
Awesome.
and we're going to do that again in the fall. And we're going to give away some badges. We're
Mm-hmm.
going to create some situations where there's actual transportation, and we're seeking out game designers who whether they're fledgling or seasoned, uh, in order to be more diverse. I mean, I can tell you, 25% or more of our guests this year,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to close in on 30%
Mm-hmm.
when it's all said or done, are women,
Mm-hmm.
which that would have been unheard of
Yeah. You
5 years ago,
yeah.
let alone 20 years ago. So
It's changed a little bit. And you alluded to this a little bit when you talked about we're not doing this at the exclusion of anyone, because there are folks that look at like at a diversity initiative like it's a zero sum game, like there's less room for me now. Um, and people have responded to that, have lashed out about it. But in generally, how has the feedback to this initiative been so far?
the feedback's been great. I mean, listen, if people don't understand that we want to make an effort to include everyone, not exclude people to make room for other people.
Mm-hmm.
We just want to include more people and more diverse people and make opportunities available. If we're going to stick our heads in the sand and say, hey, people from, certain neighborhoods or West Philadelphia have the same amount of money and resources and opportunities that someone living on the main line has, we're deluding ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, we can make additional efforts to help some of those folks be able to attend the convention.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like what's the problem? I'm not doing it and saying, well, I'm taking your seat and giving it to somebody else
Right.
at your expense. That's not what we're doing, and that really that really makes me angry
Mm-hmm.
that certain people were completely overreacting to that.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the rhetoric, DEI is dead, blah blah blah. Well, okay, so don't come to the convention.
I
That's
did
okay.
I did like it that you announced it the same week that the administration had shouted that DEI was now dead.
Well, you know what? I'll let you bleep this out later, but fuck them.
You're just trying to get me
So
demonetized.
yeah,
So
no, okay. Well, you can bleep it out. It's fine. It's this far in. It's this far in. They're not paying attention this far in.
no, they're
But
both.
yeah, no, I it's everybody deserves opportunities, and sometimes you have to make an extra effort
Mm-hmm.
to allow people to have opportunities. Believe me, like we're not turning anyone away.
Right.
We want everybody to come and be included, but we also want to make people who, maybe not feel as welcomed based on the visuals
Mm-hmm.
feel a little more welcomed. And there's nothing, I'm not going to apologize for that. Like
Mm-hmm.
if what I'm saying, if you're watching this and if that hurts your feelings, get over it,
Yes.
because hey, come talk to me and I'll give you a hug. And I don't mean that facetiously. You're welcome too. But, every company, every event, every organization has marketing goals. And we determined one of our marketing goals was to be more diverse in our attendee base. I mean, plain and
Because
simple.
yeah, well, I mean, it's better for the convention. It's also better for the hobby, which is
Correct.
something
It's it's
you've pointed out. Yeah.
it just makes sense. And you know, uh, just the amount of nonsense that gets spewed by some people on that subject that got, it made me angry. We've been nothing but decent to anybody who's come to us
Mm-hmm.
uh, looking for help or looking for support, and then to get angry because we announce a diversity initiative. Get over yourselves. You're not attending for the right reasons then.
It was strange, and you had some really good suggestions when you announced it in the thread. Of people going, "Hey, we need funds to get there. It's expensive," and that's
Yeah,
part of the goal of the initiative.
it is. And if we can help, and specifically we're doing this a lot with these college kids,
Mm-hmm.
we're giving free passes out.
Yeah.
And it's not based on your race. It's based on you're a college kid, and I was a college kid at one point,
Mm-hmm.
and this stuff was cost prohibitive.
Yeah. It's very cost
So I
prohibitive.
want to make it accessible.
And what are some ways people can actually support Page's diversity and inclusion initiative right now? Because there's a couple things you can do.
Well, they, at any point, anybody can make a donation to our gamer assistance program. Because we did carve some money out of that for the diversity initiative, and
Mm-hmm.
I matched those funds, personally,
Mm-hmm.
in order to get the diversity initiative off the ground.
Okay.
But the another way would be we have some T-shirts
Mm-hmm.
that are pretty cool T-shirts that have the we call our diversity initiative on the same page,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a bunch of hands on a book
Yep.
together, and buy a shirt.
And you
If you
could,
like what we're doing, and you don't want to do it specifically with us, find somebody who has a need-based reason
mm-hmm.
or need to come to the convention, and buy them a badge. You can donate badges. You can buy badges. Say, hey, I want to give this, and a lot of people do that
Yeah,
every year.
it's yeah.
So
For the T-shirts, for folks who are interested in getting one, most of the merch is you order it, you pick it up at the convention. The the diversity T-shirts, you're able to buy paid a little more to get them sent out early, right?
Right, right. And in fact, you did that, and you haven't gotten your shirt yet
That's
because
fine.
I'm still wait. I'm still listen. Based on how your trial goes,
Oh my gosh.
you might have an orange jumpsuit and not need that shirt.
You're literally gonna have a trial. So that'll be great. All right, we're winding down here for
I'm
folks.
I'm I'm trying to case in the court of public opinion already, Wes. If you haven't seen that.
I was framed. I will spend the rest of my days looking for the real thief. Um, or if there even was a thief. All right, for folks, this is just going to be forever now. This is great. For folks who want to find out more about Paige, what are some of the best ways that you can connect with what's going on? You have talked about you want to have it a constant stream of information. Where are the places folks can get the information about Paige?
Oh, there's several. We're on every social media platform out there.
Mm-hmm.
Blue Sky, Facebook. Our Facebook group community, the one that you join, has about 2,000 members, and we post in there multiple times a day.
Mm-hmm.
We have a Facebook page that's got 4,700 followers.
Mm-hmm.
We post there quite often and cross post. We have a YouTube channel. You go to YouTube and it's at Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo. We have live streams every Friday and every Tuesday talking about things with the convention. We send out blast emails. You can join our mailing list on our website. And our website is Philadelphia or PhillyGamingExpo.com. PhillyGamingExpo.com.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, plenty of places to find info. We have a Discord channel, TikTok.
You are all over. You're on Instagram. You are all over the place.
Yeah, we do our best. Our own Bex Swesney, they take care of our some of our other social media. I'm the one who runs the Facebook stuff.
Yes,
so.
but they do a very good job. All right,
Yeah.
and for any last words for folks who are considering coming to Page 3 in 2026.
A few things. One, it's a lot of fun. Poke. If you want to get dip your toe in it, grab a Saturday badge and come out. But I recommend you come out for the weekend. Whether hotel rates are reasonable, the parking is free,
Mm-hmm.
and I would say this: if you're somebody who would really like to go, and finances are a problem,
Mm-hmm.
then reach out to me and we'll get you squared away.
Done.
I don't want to turn anybody away, and every gamer should come in, except for a couple of the special guests that I banned for life already. So
Okay. So, all right. Thank you so much.
I won't mention who they are, Greg Gillespie. But
Oh my gosh! No, don't do that. Shh, shh, shh. Don't make me mute stuff. So
Brandon Gillum.
no, stop it. Shh.
Runehammer.
All right, I'm muting you. Stop it. All right, stop. You're gonna get me in trouble. I don't want to be in trouble. Is it? You always wait till the end. Like if you watch the Friday night show, Ron always just waits to the end. He's like, I'm tired, so I don't care what I say at this point, which is good.
Yeah.
All right, listen, I'm going to give them a go off on my own camera and let people go. Stick around for a minute so I can thank you so much. And I will see you soon, I am sure. Hang around for a second, Ron. All right, folks, Page 3 coming up. It is going to be next January, Martin Luther King weekend, 4 days this year, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and a whole bunch of people are going to be there. There's a whole bunch of games that are going to be going on. It is an absolute blast. Very small convention. It's actually expanded this year. We didn't even get to that part. About twice the vendor size, so it's going to be even more cool this year. Go to Philly Gaming Expo's website and check it out. Coming up, I have my Tales of Argosa review written. I'm going to post it on the website probably tomorrow. I have to record that, have random TTRPG thoughts I got to do, and a whole bunch of other games that I am reading. Things are going to be a lot of fun, and I've got a full January, good grief, full June for the rest of this month. So we'll see what I actually get out. But until we see each other again, folks, happy playing, everyone.